Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk to you about my 2011 Corvette Z06. So this car is Inferno Orange, which is just a fancy color for red. I'm not sure why GM didn't choose to call it Inferno Red or something different with the shade of red, because it's pretty much just red. In 2011, GM offered the Z07 package on the Corvettes. This was the first year that that package was offered on the C6 generation. So that Z07 package gives the magnetic ride control as well as the carbon ceramic brakes. It also gives an aluminum radiator and it gives upgraded sway bars. This car, being a 2011, also is the first year that they offered the carbon fiber package. So that carbon fiber package gives you the front splitter, the side skirts, the rear spoiler, and the roof all off of a Z01. So the front splitter, side skirts, and roof panel are carbon fiber, painted gloss black, and the spoiler is just painted body color. So those are the two pretty substantial options that this car has on it. Again, 2011 was the first year that they offered those, so that's pretty cool that this car does have those options. I purchased this car in late 2016. I had just turned 35, or I was getting ready to turn 35, and I thought, hey, it's a good time to get a midlife crisis car. So Corvette fit that bill pretty well. When I bought it, it had around 7,000 miles on it, 7,500 miles on it. Today, I think it has 17,000-ish. We'll have to look at that, but I don't really drive it a whole lot. The car's actually spent most of its life just sitting over where the blue A3 is at. You could see on the wall over here by the Audi. The Audi's really sweet too. Really like that car. You see the blinking light on the wall there. I'll zoom in to it. That's a battery tender that I have hardwired into the Corvette. So it just usually does sit there, as I said. Swap the cars around for this video so that I could get out and walk around the Corvette and have a little bit more room. So when I bought this car, it had a few modifications done to it. My approach has always been mods do not add value, but apparently the owner that had it prior to me, thought doing mods would add value. So I guess he wanted to mod the car. So what he had done to it was the window tint. When they did the window tint on it, they did it the preferred way, in my opinion, on the C6 platform, and they actually put some vinyl over the dot matrix stuff on the back there, if you can see that. So that's all just black vinyl on the bottom, and then they put the window tint. So if you look at the back of the car, you don't see all the dots. So that's really, really cool. He also installed these splash guards or mud flaps or whatever you want to call these extension pieces that come out from behind the wheels. It seems like a lot of people ask me where I got my mud flaps. So apparently in the Corvette community, these are called mud flaps. I'm not sure what I would call them, but he did install those. These were provided by a vendor that, in my experience, is not very trustworthy, so I would never give their name. So if you want to know where I got my mud flaps, I'm probably not going to tell you. That owner also installed the mild to wild switch so that you could open the valves on the exhaust or close the valves on the exhaust if you wanted to with the little push button. And he also did some PPF on the car, which I'm really thankful that he did. So the front splitter, front bumper, headlights, fog lights, hood, and front fenders are all covered in PPF. And then as we walk back on the car, the side skirts as well as the mirrors are covered. This area around the door handles are covered as well. And these areas back here that are prone to getting a bunch of rock chips are covered. So right down there on the sides, as well as back here behind the rear tires. So again, those are the mods that he did. I'm not sure why I did them, because I didn't pay for them when I bought it, because mods don't add value. I think I pretty much told him that. Sorry, you spent your money modding the car, but I'm not going to pay for them because they don't add value. So we'll fast forward that to what I've done. As we all know, these Z06 cars have the LS7 in them, and they're known to drop valves just at random times. You know, you start it up and a valve will fly through the fender and put a window in the block and do all this bad stuff. So once the warranty was up, I decided to address that. We'll get into that a little bit later. My biggest complaint when I bought this car was the interior was subpar in my opinion. I've addressed some of those issues, and I've just done a few other things to the car. My approach when I do modify things, which I don't because mods don't add value, but my approach when I do is I kind of go for an OEM plus or an OEM plus plus, meaning I want things that are pretty subtle and they could have came from the factory that way. So I guess the most obvious mod on this car, as you look at it, that's an extreme zoom in right there to the dot matrix stuff on the rear glass. The most obvious mod that would jump out to you is probably the wheels and tires. A lot of people also notice the brakes as well. So on these wheels, these are actually the 4 set of wheels that I've had on the car. I like these by far the most out of what I've had. These are some BC forged wheels. They're a 2-piece design. They have a gloss black lip, and they have, I believe it's called their brush dark black center. I also went with black hardware. So you can see this center really changes based upon lightings. If you get it out in the sunlight, it almost has some bronze tones to it. In here, it's a darker color. I'm really happy with how that came out. But when I first put these wheels on, the factory calipers on this car are gray, and the gray just did not contrast well. It looked like something that, you know, you wouldn't want to see. So in order to run the wheels, I ended up buying some brand new OEM calipers that are the ZR1 blue color. Again, this does have the carbon ceramic brakes that the ZR1 would have, so those are the OEM calipers on it. Something that's always frustrated me with wheels is you'll get your lug nuts and they get all beat up and they just look nasty when you take your wheels off and put them back on, when you have to like rotate tires or get flats or whatever. So I went with these real nice 2-piece lug nuts. These are Project KICS or whatever you want to call them. So the cap that you're seeing here actually just unscrews off, and then your actual nuts behind it. So you can see the caps remain nice and pristine and don't get any damage to them. There's a little name drop of who that is. Also went with matching valve stem caps there. So it's a nice little touch that nobody notices, but I mean, if you're going to run these expensive wheels, you might as well fork up and run some nice expensive lug nuts as well. You can see all the black hardware bolting the wheels together. So that's probably the most obvious mod on the exterior of this car. I lowered it all the way down on the factory bolts. Doesn't give you a whole lot of drop, but it did drop the car about 3/4 of an inch. I've thought about going lower, I just never have. One of these days I might do that. The next thing that you might see on the outside of the car are these black badges. Not a fan of chrome. A lot of Corvette guys are, I'm not, so I wanted to do what I could to get rid of the chrome. So you can see I have these Z06 badges on the side. Also have this custom badge on the front with Corvette flags, matching badge on the rear for that. I guess stepping back, you might notice the headlights as well. So the factory headlights on this car were body color. I was able to find some decently low mile black headlights. When I got those, I took them apart, bought some new lenses for them because we all know the lenses are known to fog up and just look trashy. When I took them apart, I actually polished the factory black paint on the housing. So I've seen a lot of Corvettes at different car shows and stuff, and I've never seen black ones with black housings like this pop. That's because the factory, I'll try to zoom in here so you can get some of that. It's gonna be hard to pick up, but I don't think they polished these at all from the factory. So when I was able to actually go on and polish them, I was really able to make these look dark and deep and just a lot better in my opinion. I also took the factory rings, if we can pick those up there. Hard to do with all the reflections, but the factory rings that go around the headlight housings are chrome. I painted those black as well. So just a little something to make the front end kind of pop here. I guess another thing that you might notice would be these side marker lights. So these are some actual eBay marker lights. I had some nice ones. I believe they're Oracle, but they kept failing on me. So I ended up just replacing them with these eBay ones. I figured if they failed, they were cheap to replace. I'll go ahead and unlock the car here and you can see what those look like. So that shows up kind of, it's just an LED strip there. Replaced the headlights as well as the fog lights with HIDs and or LED lights depending upon what the light was. Going around to the back of the car here, you can see the rear marker lights. And looking at the back, you can see the tail lights. So these are the Eagle Eye tail lights. I had them lightly tinted. What I was trying to do was to get the color of them to match the OEM rear third brake lights. So got them tinted to pretty much match that. It looks pretty good. You might have seen my other video talking about the exhaust. This is the Akrapovic or Akrapovich or however you pronounce it. I'm not entirely sure there at this point. That is that exhaust on the car. It really makes me not like the car, but if you watched the other video, you probably saw that. So we'll go ahead and jump into the inside and then we'll talk about some of the underhood stuff. Again, I don't really like to mod cars, so I haven't done much with this. Looking at the back of it, you can see I have this back cargo mat thing. I like to put stripes on there just because I don't carry stuff back here. Underneath that, I have the Block It sound deadening kit. If we lift up here, you can kind of see that. I've also done the interior lights with LEDs throughout as well. I installed the Block It kit because I was trying to make the Akrapovich exhaust a little more tolerable. Didn't work, so get the doors open up here and we'll talk about the inside. So the inside, if you know these cars at all, everybody says they're cheap quality, they're horrible, they don't like them, they're trash, they're parts bin cars. Everything I just said there, I agree with. When I bought the car, the interior was definitely a downfall for me. I came from a GTO, 2004 GTO, and those were known for pretty nice interiors, but the rest of the cars sucked. So I got something with a nice exterior, and then, you know, the interior sucks. It's all a trade-off. In here, I'll walk around to the driver's side. I had actually ordered a steering wheel for this car before the car even arrived. That was how much I hated, you know, the factory steering wheel. This isn't the steering wheel I ordered then. I've since upgraded it, but we'll start with the seats here. So in 2012, GM changed the seats on the C6, and the frames are the same, but the foam was different and the covers were different. So what I had done was just bought the OEM seat covers and the OEM foam, and I just tore the seats apart and recovered them. They turned out really great. A lot of guys don't even notice this, but if you know the C6 platform at all, you'll pick up that these are 12, 13 seats. When I did that, I also did the seat repair kit on the bottom, which covers the foam with some ballistic nylon or something. I guess if you ever run over a landmine, it might help you out there. It also upgraded the foam to make them stand up a little bit better and be a little more supportive. Also looking in here, you can see the steering wheel. This is a RFE design steering wheel and airbag cover. Really high quality, definitely recommend that guy. It ships from overseas somewhere, so it takes a little while to get to you, but the quality was phenomenal. Zooming in here, you can see I chose to go with the perforated leather and the Napa smooth leather option. I didn't like the carbon fiber that a lot of guys do because, as I'd said, less is more. Going down here to the footwell, you'll see I have the Lloyd's mats here as well. Something else that I really liked that I did on this early on was these pedals. So these are the OEM GM accessory pedals. They were discontinued shortly after I got the car, and I was able to pick up a set. They really changed kind of the look and feel of that floorboard, in my opinion. You can probably see I have the dash logic controller right there. I also have the wideband of the car wired into that dash logic, so when I start the car, I can display the air-fuel ratio on the heads-up display or the instrument cluster. Looking through here a little bit, you can see I had done the shift knob as well as the boot, and those were from RFE Designs as well. I also had them do me a custom top cover for that piece, so definitely helps out with the appearance of the interior. I'll walk over to the other side here and we can look at the e-brake handle. There's the Audi again. I'll just zoom out here and admire that, because that is a beautiful piece of machinery right there. Really like that car. It's a blast. It's one of the reasons why I don't really like this thing as much anymore, is because of that one. So I don't know. I guess, what would you prefer? Would you rather have this blue thing with 4 doors? Or would you rather have this red thing over here, or Inferno Orange, Inferno Red, whatever you want to call it, with 2 doors? I mean, for me, if I had to pick one, I guess I don't want to say which one I would pick, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be this one. But anyway, let's continue. Going back in here, you can see that I did the RFE Designs e-brake handle as well as the e-brake boot. One of the things that really frustrated me in this car from day one was the e-brake handle button was some silver color that literally matched nothing in the car. I mean, this was just a parts bin car through and through. So I was able to swap that out from a vendor that I'm not going to name because I do not think they're a good vendor. But anyway, I was able to swap that out with this piece, which very, very closely matches this. So at least I was able to tie it in a little bit there. Another thing that I didn't understand on the interior of these cars, they had on the visors, they told you not to place kids in the back seat. And I never found the back seat of the car. I mean, looking back here, I don't even know where you'd put the back seat option. So I decided to take those stickers off because I didn't think that applied to this car. On the door release buttons here, the bezels were some sort of brushed finish that matched literally nothing in the car. So I decided to pull those out and I just wrapped those. So you can see, zoom in here, looks really good. The matte black actually matches some of the other matte black in the car. As far as mods in here goes, that's it. I do have a throttle controller that I have hidden because there's no reason to show off stuff like that. It's kind of ricey, but it did help with the car. There's the other release button. So I'll go ahead and pop the hood and we'll talk about the stock stuff underneath. Again, I don't like to do mods on cars because they don't add value. This car has heads-up display also, which is pretty cool. It has the leather wrap dash, which is not peeling. I do keep it conditioned and try to keep it out of the sun because it just sits over there hooked up to a charger all the time and it doesn't get very bright in the garage from the sun. So it's probably why the dash hasn't peeled yet. It has a factory center speaker, which I removed and didn't touch on this, but I also replaced the door speakers, these little guys here, with some JBL unit that has a tweeter on them, just to get a little bit better highs. So going under the hood, as I had mentioned, I had the heads addressed on this shortly after I bought it. And when I say I had the heads addressed, I mean the car set over there and I did the heads on it. As all the other mods that have been done on this car, it's set over there where the A3's at, and I've done the mods myself. I've tuned the car myself. What I have not done myself has been mounting the tires to the wheels. Haven't done that myself, but I have taken the wheels, separately up to have that done. I've also not done the alignments on the car, but other than that, the detail work, the mechanical work, the tuning, everything you see here, I've done. So that's good because mods don't add value, so you don't want to pay people to do mods, you just want to do them yourself. That way, you're not losing that value that's not added. So back under the hood, I did the AHP street ported heads. At the time that I bought this, it was all hand ported stuff. It wasn't CNC. I went with their lightweight valve option, don't remember what that was called, and their lightweight spring option, don't remember what that was called. When I did the heads, I thought it would be silly not to do some cam work since I was halfway in there. So what I decided to do was AHP 116 cam, which they call the California Smog cam. It's a very, very small cam for the car, but I mean, it added some performance, so I might as well do it while I was in there, so I decided to do that. This also has the Corsa intake on it. I just took the Corsa badge off because I didn't really like it. Earlier this year, I did headers on the car. So this has 1 7/8 headers with catted mids, because the catless mids are for off-road vehicles, and I'm not sure how well this would do off-road, because if you look at like the ground clearance on it and the tire setup, I just don't know that I could take it off-road. So when I read that disclaimer about being for off-road vehicles only, I figured, hey, I don't want to take this thing off-road. So I stuck with the cats, and you know, I can help save the environment that way too. So I thought that was pretty cool. Double win. Put the headers on. I also did this intake manifold, which is the MSD intake manifold. And I bought this from Tony Mammo, and he does the porting as well as the stealth top option on it. So he shaves off all the ricey MSD stuff and he puts it in kind of a factory matte finish-ish. So I put that on. Also have a throttle body. It's an OEM throttle body, but it was ported by Mammo as well. And I like to, if I do mod a car, which I don't because they don't add value, but if I do, I like to put these things on spark plug wires. So this has MSD spark plug wires, and it has, I think these are like DEI heat shields, but they're some Chinese knockoff from eBay. So they're not DEI, but they're the same thing. I guess lastly, underneath here, I took the factory fuel rail covers and I cut those to fit this manifold better-ish, as good as I could. So made some real straight lines there, went back and block sanded it all. Overall, the finish on that turned out really well. I was happy with how they fit and how they looked. So there's the walk around of the 2011 Corvette Z06. As you can see, not much has been done to it because we don't do mods to cars. Everything that has been done, I've done myself. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how the car runs. It's just an old car, old technology. I think it's at 17,000 miles right now. I think I'm covering everything. I guess one other thing to mention, this car has magnetic ride control on it. And late last year, I was able to meet up with Jim Merrow, and he was able to do his magnetic ride control calibration on the car, which really did change the feel of the car. I mean, it was well worth it. Dollar for dollar, that was one of the better mods. Another one of the good mods, I think dollar for dollar, was the ported MSD intake manifold. There was a nice pickup with that. I actually did that manifold before I did headers, and it was a lot more noticeable doing the manifold than it was doing the headers. So headers did kind of ruin the car. If you watched my other video with the Akrapovic exhaust, you'll see why. Yeah, so that's a brief walk around of the car. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the video below. Wow, that was loud, really loud with the garage shut. Any comments, feel free to reach out. Any questions on the car? If you want to offer to buy the car for like 30 grand, feel free to do that as well. I get that stuff all the time. Not sure why, but yeah. Don't know why I still have it. Probably because the community values it at 30 grand. So I'll just hold on to it for 30 grand because it doesn't cost me anything. Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. Hopefully you enjoyed it. In the future, hopefully it'll get a little bit better for me as far as the drone goes and the nastiness that seems to come along with these Corsas. Or the, oh, I'm sorry. Whoa, Corsa. Wonder where that box came from. But anyway, thanks for checking this out. Feel free to like the video or dislike the video. Probably get a lot of dislikes, I would say. If you do prefer the A3 over there, the Audi A3, I can give some more information on that as well. But yeah, that's my garage. Thanks for taking the time to watch these videos, and feel free to like or dislike and subscribe or comment or give me hate or whatever you want to do. I would definitely appreciate the feedback. Thanks again, guys.